Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Poultry Keepers Podcast. In this episode, Jeff Mattocks and Rip Stalvey finish up their session on the best practices for brooding baby chicks. Let's join them now as they pick up where they left off last week.
I know what we recommend. I noticed that most of the chick starter protein now is about 18%. Most of the over-the-counter stuff.
It's all over the place. And I see growers all over the place. I see people using game bird starters. I see people using, and 20%, 20 to 22. Okay. Because we do have breeding birds and show birds and not commercial birds. Those feeds that you're seeing advertised at different places around, and those are for commercial meat birds. That's primarily what they're growing for, or what they're putting that on the shelf for. But yeah, for fancy birds with great plumage and aspirations to be breeders somewhere down the road, I like 20 to 22 as long as those amino acids are correct. And I know I've beat amino acids for the last 3 years. So but every time we do this, we got new people listening, and it's like those amino acids are critical. A couple shows ago, somebody asked me, what is the best chick starter? And I said, to be honest, it was Gary's Show Pro chick starter. And because we know that the amino acids are perfect. They're spot on. And got meat protein, it's got the right fat levels, and it's amazing. He's astonished at how many people actually placed the order and got it. And I'm happy for him. And those people are, if they do it right, management wise, you've started chicks on it. You know what I'm talking about. So it's hands down. When you ever get your hands on that perfect chick starter, it's like, where have I been my whole life? And you've been doing it 50 years, and that's, I don't know. You've been doing it 50 years, and you just did it the first time here in the last couple of years using a superior enhanced chick starter. Yes, you were amazed, right? Just listening to your comments a couple of years ago. It's like, where have I been my whole life? I didn't know you could do that.
Exactly right. I felt bad for all those chicks I started on anything else over the years. Survival Flare wants to know if they can use whole fresh goat milk. Will that work? Sure will.
Any mammal milk. I don't care if you got goat milk, cow milk, camel milk, horse milk, pig milk. It doesn't matter to me. If you want to milk your sheep, then that's fine too. All of those milks will work just fine. Oat milk, cashew milk, coconut milk, and those are not from a mammal. They don't count. They're not real milk.
I'm just sitting here trying to visualize me trying to milk a hog. But
somebody's done it because they had an analysis for what pig milk is.
That's a little
somebody milked one enough to know. Yeah. And I don't think she's going to stand still for it.
Not even close.
No.
Let's see. We talked about waters. As your chicks
grow. About waters?
Well,
we didn't talk about waters.
We talked about the feeders. But as your chicks grow, do not forget to raise the height of your feeders and your waterers to just below the back of those chicks. That's where you want the lip of those feeders and waters. That will keep your feed and waters cleaner. Plus, they will waste less feed that way. Now,
Rick, people don't believe us. People don't believe us, Rick, because I still see pictures.
Oh yeah,
feeders and water sitting on the ground,
flat on the ground. Yep.
Yeah, and then they're like, why are my chicks wasting so much feed? Let's see, because you have your feeder on the ground, maybe.
Exactly.
And it's not good feed. Anyway,
when I start baby chicks, I will put some brightly colored marbles in that little water tray just to attract the chicks' attention to it, and they'll pick at that. And it's just something I've been doing for years since I started back when I was raising Bob White quail. I did that, and that helped keep quail from.
You're right on the money. So if you have those little cork flip overs with the trough around it, or even the gallon size. The secondary reason you want to put those marbles in there is they can't get in it to their feathers. So they're not going to get wet. They're not going to get ascites. They're not going to get dead. Yeah. It's, putting those marbles or something like that in there that's shiny, glittery, different color, something to attract them. You're right on the money, Rip. Can you still buy marbles, though?
Yeah. You still buy
I
them.
know you got a bag from when you were a kid, but I don't know I haven't seen marbles.
Mary got some the other day for some little Christmas boxes she puts together for kids. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they came from Amazon. But I've seen them at places like Hobby Lobby and all that kind of place.
All right. So they still do make marbles.
Still make marbles.
All right.
Samantha Grigg, where'd it go here? Samantha Grigg wants to know, she's jumping in late, but if this has been touched on, is anyone using coarse sand as a bedding for baby chicks?
I have seen it used. It's not my favorite. It does draw the moisture out of the manure pretty quickly. So if you're a person who wants to rake out your bedding and remove the manure on a daily basis, sand could have potential, but I don't know that I want to recycle it or reuse it from batch to batch. So makes me a little bit nervous, but like I said, it's not my favorite. So but it can be used as long as it's warm. Here's the downside that I'm seeing from people that like to bed on sand. It appears to be drawing moisture out of the feathers, and the feathers will have a drier look, right? So if you're doing breeding stock or pretty fowl, then you're working against yourself by using sand, because it's a desiccant that will draw moisture. And when your birds, it's actually coarse, right? That's what they make sandpaper with. So if your birds start dusting in it, you're also it's going to be abrasive to the feathers during formation. That's my thoughts on sand.
I agree with that, because I know when I used to have bobwhite quail on sand, the feathers looked horrible. Absolutely horrible. Yeah. Let's see. Ingrid had a good one here. Ingrid says for water, she used to cut some hose to length and put that in the red part of the water. She's talking about like pieces of old water hose and that kind of stuff. That would work.
Right. And it keeps them from, they can't jump in there. They can still drink. There's enough depth there. They can still drink. It doesn't clog the fowl, right? The fowl still works the way it's supposed to, but there's only like a quarter of an inch of water over the top of it. So they learn how to work with a drinker, a water fountain, and that's a safe way to go.
Imperium Cerama said dollar store has a ton of marbles. They probably do.
I might just go get some to have fun with.
You'll play for keeps too. I know you.
Absolutely.
Laura Miller wants to know the regimen for yogurt probiotic.
Look, milk is my first choice, right? I don't want people just jumping ahead trying to get ahead of the class. Milk in a disposable aluminum pie plate, half full, and what they'll consume. First time is 2 hours. After that, what they clean up in about an hour, right? And so the regimen is day 3, day 7, day 14, day 21, and day 28, and then stop. So you're basically doing it 1 day a week, but the first dose is on day 3, day 7, day 14, day 21, day 28. Okay. Then we can use it. We can use it later on in life if, you see there's a whole bunch of strange looking droppings in the pen, like they ate something, they might have got some spoiled feed or something like that. Fine. Let's give them a dose of milk. Right. But chickens actually don't digest glucose and some of the things in milk properly. So doing it all the time, it'll act as a laxative and can create problems.
Here's a good question. Survival Flair says she has 8 3-week-old chicks, and she says she has a feeling she has 5 males and 3 females. The roosters are fighting so much, like really fighting. Should I separate them? If they're fighting that much.
Turn down the lights.
Yep.
I
Turn
bet
down the
she's
light.
got too much light in it.
And they may be a little bit too crowded.
That could be too. But yeah, my first go-to is probably the light. They're just overstimulated. This is amazing. I find people that there's too much light in their brooder for too long. Okay, so we didn't talk about lighting. I'm just going to give you the really quick, this is the down and dirty on lighting. Okay. You have 2 to 3 days of 24 hours of light, right? White light, not bright. White light, full spectrum white light, 3 days. Okay. Then after that, you take them down to 16 hours of light with an 8-hour rest period. Okay. And you leave them there for about 2 weeks. Then you're going to bring them down to 12 to 13 hours of light. And you're going to leave them there all the way through the development stage. Okay. Again, not bright lights. You only need between 5 and 10 foot candles of light for a chicken. Okay. That is not a lot. And there's a free app. You can download it for measuring lux or foot candles. Just make sure you get the free version and it works great. I downloaded it so you can check lighting whenever you like. But just look, turkeys like sun. Some birds like sun. Okay. Chickens are not those birds. Okay. They are not sun worshipers. They're going to go lay on the beach all day long. All right. Now, people say, oh, I see them laying in the sun. You will. They're going to take 30 minutes to an hour. They'll lay in the sun. They'll soak up the rays, get their energy, but they're not going to do it all day. And look at your mature flock. Yeah. Look at your mature birds. Where are they at? From 10 a.m. to about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. They're going to be in the shade.
Her comment is, oh my gosh, I have kept the light on full time. That will do it.
I figured they're overstimulated, right? So I tell you, you put me under a bright light for 24 hours a day, full time for 3 weeks. I'm going to fight something. Something's going to die.
And not going to be you.
No.
Let's see here. What about some common illnesses people need to be aware of? I know the one thing that probably comes to mind right off the bat is pasty butt. I used to have an occasional problem with pasty butt, but since I started giving my baby chick grit, and grit is in the feed that I give them automatically, but I still offer them a little container of grit. But since I've been giving them grit, I haven't had any more cases of pasty butt. Now, I don't know if that's the grit is what's causing it or not. I'm just saying that's what happened.
You did a lot of things, right? You went to a really good feed, right? Properly balanced. You went to a good feed. You went to grit, right? Because you've been hanging out with crazy people like me now for 3 years. So a whole lot of things have changed in your life.
I keep hoping that some of that stuff will wear off on me, but so far I'm questioning all of it.
No, you're doing fine. Pasty butt can come from too high of a temperature, too low of a temperature. If the feed's not solid, right? If it's not a really great feed, you can get pasty butt from. What worries me is every time somebody sees pasty butt, they immediately want to get some Corid or Amprolium or something.
Yeah.
And that ain't, pasty butt is not always coccidiosis. And in fact, I would say 75% of the time it is not coccidiosis. Okay. You probably just have a little bit of a digestive upset. You can hit them with some milk. But Rip, your observation. So you went to a proper fiber feed, you went to grit, you went to a lot of things, and it just all coming together. But a lot of times in the brooder, I see pasty butt related more to temperature, temperature control. Because if you get them too hot, if you don't have something that'll regulate the temperature, especially now with like our days are in the 80s already, and our nights are in the 50s. If you don't have something to semi-regulate that and help you manage temperature swings, you can see some pasty butt if you overheat them. If you get them too hot, they drink extra water, and that's where you're going to get some runny droppings and pasty butt.
Yeah. John Pelton says he uses apple cider vinegar with mothers as well as grit after a week old, and that helps prevent it. There you go.
I agree.
Thanks for sharing that, John.
Yep.
And Sue Dobson, we were talking about heating brooders, and she says she loves brooder plate. I've never tried one. Maybe I don't know what I'm missing out on.
Neither.
May have to break
I'm
down
old fashioned. I use the old red infrared light. I use the good ones, the high quality that are actually red glass. Okay.
I started using.
I had one of those ones.
I was going to say, I started using those ceramic heaters. They look like they just screw into a light socket, and I've been using those for 6-7 years.
They're safer.
Not had any problems.
There's a lot of horror stores.
If I happen to bump up against it, it gets pretty hot. It'll scorch you.
Yeah, I can believe that. I just grew up using the red light bulb, and it's worked fine. And as long as I'm conscious about it, I manage it correctly, it works for me. So
that good management practices, that factors in huge into how our birds turn out. It really does.
It does. It does.
Good management, good feed, and good genetics, you're off to a good start. Sue Dobson says they self-adjust to their needs. I do tilt them, and no one area is really warm or another really cooler. So you keep it up, I'm going to have to break down and get one of those rascals.
A lot of people are using them.
Yeah. Let's see here. Distress signs in baby chicks in a brooder. If you hear loud chirping that sounds really distraught, you need to check and find out what's going on. Your chicks may be too cold. They may be too hot. They may need feed. They may need water. Just don't ignore that, please. You got to stay on top of those kind of things. I like to see, and we didn't touch on this when we were talking about heat, but I like to see chicks that are evenly distributed throughout the brooder. When I see them huddling up in a corner or up in one side, then I start worrying about drafts coming from the other direction because they're trying to get away from it. If I see them forming a circle around inside of it, that's telling me that it's starting to get a little bit too warm under that brooder. But as long as they're evenly distributed around the brooder and running around and eating and pecking and just doing chicken things, completely happy with that.
Yep, I agree. But you can get that kind of go to you're talking about drafts. If you see a bunch of them in a corner or something like that, I've actually seen it where like there's a shadow in the room or something that moves across the top of them. And their instinct is that's a predator. And of course they group together, right? So yeah, if you don't think it's temperature or you don't think it's a draft, just look for the reason why they're going to that corner, right? So there's going to be a reason.
Pretty soon you can get to where you can start to think like chickens.
That's not a good thing. Yeah, no, that's not a good thing.
Well, mercy. Jeff, what's your feelings on electrolyte and vitamin packages for baby chicks? Do they need it? Do they not need it?
They shouldn't need it. These foil pouch pack electrolytes are stuff that when I read down through the label, there's too many chlorides. Okay. There's sodium chloride, potassium chloride, magnesium chloride. Folks, those are all salts. Okay. Everything that they're all a salt. And they're designed to go into the bloodstream quickly. I get it. Okay. So there's a time and a place for electrolytes. If you detect some dehydration, and you can see that by skin, you can look at their feet and see that. You can see around their eyes. Their eyes are a little bit drawn in or sunken in from normal. If they're stressed, I just don't. They just sell those electrolyte packs like crazy. And they're going to keep selling them no matter what I say. It doesn't matter. But do we really need them? No. We need really good, clean water. You can put a little apple cider vinegar in it if you want. Fine. We put on the group sites, we put the homemade electrolyte mix out there. Works as good as anything you're going to buy in a foil pouch. But just don't do it because you think you're supposed to do it. Do it for the right reasons. Okay. Again, right. If you're seeing some distress or something.
If somewhere I've got some photos, and I think I posted them one time, of signs you can look for on baby chicks to see whether they're dehydrated or not. I'm going to have to see if I can dig those out.
That would be
Repost
great.
those.
If you can get
Yeah.
some good pictures to show people what the signs. I know how to do it only by looking at the viscosity or the moisture content of the manure dropping, right? So the quick, easy way to say this is I want a manure dropping to be wider than it is tall. So if I see manure that is stacking up, that's not a good thing, right? The right amount of moisture to the right amount of solids, I'm going to get a nice like quarter size dropping that's maybe a quarter to 3/8 of an inch high. Okay. It's not going to be stacking an inch and there's variables to that because if you're measuring the poop on the roost at night, it's going to be taller, right? And it's going to be drier because they haven't drank from sundown till whatever. But it's their daytime droppings. I'd just see you should be able to see the moisture. The other way is take a putty knife or a stick and see how soft they are, right? Just squish them out and see. If they're hard like a rabbit pellet, then we got a problem. You're not getting enough water into your birds, whether it's not easily accessible for whatever reason. They're just not, right? They're not getting enough water into them. Their water consumption should always be twice as much as the feed. Okay. So if they eat a pound of feed, they should drink 2 pounds of water. Okay. There's the rule of thumb for poultry forever. We've known this for 100 years, 2 to 1 by weight. You keep pushing my buttons and get me going down the wrong road.
That's partially the intent, but I do it with a good heart.
You just like to see me get up on my soapbox.
I've been there a time or two myself now, let's face it.
All right.
John wants to know, what's your thoughts on respiratory problems in baby chicks? Had one about 2 weeks ago.
Boy, John, the airflow, if we've got people bundle up their baby chicks, right? And they do not exchange the air in the brooder often. So no matter where the chicken lives, okay, brooder, sitting on your lap, out in the chicken coop, wherever, okay, we need 100% air exchange, a minimum of 6 times per day. Okay. That's even down at the chick level. So we have to figure a way to mix it and remove it. Okay. And it's not going to hurt the chicks to be cool for 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. It's not like it's going to be forever. So gotta have air quality, gotta have air. And that's the best way to avoid those. That and managing your bedding are the top 2 things for managing respiratory issues in any age of chicken.
And if you're around your brooder and you smell ammonia, you got a problem. Poultry are much more sensitive to ammonia than we are. And if we can smell it up on our level, just imagine what it's like for those little chicks down there having to breathe that stuff. That will cause respiratory problems. It will also cause eye damage.
Yeah, it'll burn the retina in no time. Or the cornea.
Stay after that. Keep that bedding dry. Let's see. Katie wants to know, was it one of you guys talking about how the birds like the cat drinking fountains? I believe that was Jeff.
Yep. Whenever you can have moving water, chickens will consume more. So I got a friend of mine in Florida. He actually rigs up specialized kind of shelters for his turkeys to drink. And he's got they call he's got spaghetti tubing, and he just lets it dribble. And it goes into a trough, so they can drink out of a trough. But he found that his turkeys will consume more water if it's moving. And the same happens. You flip over one of your chicken drinkers and it runs away across the bottom of the coop, they're all going to chase it. They'll
get right to where it's going.
Yeah. If you had a little pump and you had a way to just keep it moving, it's going to attract them. They're going to consume more. They're going to be healthier.
And that's a good thing for you to have going, particularly when it's hot weather. Gets them to consume more water. See, Joy says, I have noticed my chicks having extra light makes them flighty. You betcha.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing how many people think chicks need all this intense lighting, right? All the bright lights. And when you get them down to, like I said, 10-foot candles, again, download that app and get them down to 10-foot candles. And I'm going to look and see if I can get the app for you. So
you can also look for a photographer's app for your camera too. That will read the temperature of the light in the whole 9 yards.
So the app is just called Lux. Okay? I don't know if anybody can see on my phone. There we go.
Look,
Just
LUX.
yellow icon, LUX.
Yep.
Okay. I just looked for a free light meter, and it's measuring it in here in my room right now. I'm in 13.5-foot candles, okay? But it gives you readings. You can switch it from lux to foot candles. It gives you the max, the minimum, the average. So if you want to pay for an ad-free version, it's going to cost you money, but I got that one for free. Just took me the time to download it.
And it's a handy tool to have. Very handy tool to have.
It is. Well, and like I said, I was sitting in Kelly's chicken house and I downloaded that thing, and I'm sitting there, and we were like 400 foot candles, between 400 and 500 foot candles. And
Whoa.
it was a greenhouse plastic cover. Okay. And it was letting, so on those sunnier days, that light was coming right in there.
I imagine so. Wow.
Good.
Put sunglasses on the bird.
Yeah. So
I don't know if we've got any more comments. I think we've got through them. Joy says she has been doing daylight and shutting some birds on sunny days. No extra light. Good deal.
Yeah. And Kelly chimed in. He said, the bright, sunny, windy days, you make his fowl high strung. So they get pretty crazy.
Indeed. Folks, that gets us down to the closeout of another show. I have enjoyed it. I hope you have too. I hope Jeff has. But I always enjoy these shows.
That was a short show.
I know.
Was that really an hour? Is that time right?
1 hour, 2 minutes, and 57 seconds. When we get questions right and left, man, that makes for great shows, but it also makes it go fast.
Yeah, and you keep pushing my buttons about feed and water and grit. And yeah, thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy.
Before we go, I've got a little quote that I want to share with you, just so you know that Jeff's not the only one that pushes buttons. But this one hit me today, and I thought, I'm going to write that down and share it with everybody. If you try to raise poultry the way the masses on the internet tell you to, you'll eventually learn that the M is silent. That wraps up our deep dive into the best practices for brooding baby chicks. Remember, getting things done right during this first critical week lays the foundation for a happy, healthy, productive bird. If you found today's live stream helpful, be sure and follow up with us for more poultry keeping tips on one of our Facebook groups.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Poultry Keepers Podcast. Don't forget to check out our website at www.thepoultrykeeperspodcast.com for more great tips, information, and help so you can raise your best flock ever. Be sure to drop us a note and tell us about your birds. We hope you have a great time enjoying your birds, and we'll be back next Tuesday.